Okay, so I'm going to comment on some of Quentin Tarantino's monologues in Inglourious Basterds. It should be spelled T-U-U-R-D, not T-E-R. I think he thought he was being really edgy or, I don't know, cool by... Okay, strike that. Not edgy or cool, but I think he was trying to be unique by spelling the word bastards, B-A-S-T-E-R-D. Whatever, it should be T-U-R-D. And it comes to mind immediately, why would you make a movie on this subject? The answer is, it was provocative, right? Okay, so people went to see it because it was, okay, oh my gosh, it's about the most taboo subject, but it's like an alternate universe where Jewish people are winning. Okay, fine. Okay, I get it, it's provocative. It's still really negative subject matter, though. I mean, there's just certain subject matter that I don't want to watch, even if it's in an alternate universe, like the Twin Towers. Oh, what if? I mean, I guess Quentin Tarantino could make a movie about that. Like, what if the passengers won in the Twin Tower on the planes? Right? Okay, fine. It still brings up a subject that is very depressing to a lot of people. But I guess Quentin Tarantino needs an excuse to have a bloodbath and have non-stop slaughtering, and that this subject allowed him to do that, right? His Revenge of the Nerds kind of movie thing that I often talk about. Okay, so the first monologue is on the milk farm, and I saw this in the theater, by the way. All I remember is that it's supposed to be suspenseful, but I didn't feel a sense of suspense, and as I watched it, the first time I watched it in the theater, I remember thinking, oh, he's trying to do suspense like a la the same way as in Pulp Fiction when there was the adrenaline needle to the heart. And I'm like, oh, he's trying to make this suspenseful, but I don't feel the sense of suspense. I remember thinking that at the time in the theater. Okay, so it's World War II, and Christoph Waltz is a high-ranking German officer, and basically his mission is to get rid of Jewish people. And he goes to, I believe, a milk farm in Poland, and that's the setup. Alright, this is going to be hard, difficult, and scary to watch this and comment. Why so difficult and scary? Well, because, firstly, I don't enjoy this movie at all. In fact, I dislike almost everything about this movie. And it's also scary because I'm afraid I might not find anything funny or interesting about it to comment on. Yes, it's just a commentary, and yes, it doesn't take much work. However, it does take energy. It's like when you're with somebody who's talking a lot, and they're not saying anything that interests you at all, but you have to listen to them anyways. That's like kind of like what it's like watching this and having to like comment on it. It's like hearing somebody making the stupidest arguments to you. And you gotta like actually list like the earth is flat, and you're like, okay, yeah, but if it's flat, then what about airplanes? What about all these things, right? But you gotta keep like talking through it and letting them navigate the whole conversation. It wastes, it drains your energy. But if my video saves one child from watching this movie, as when they grow up, then it's all worth it. So the movie starts off with Chapter 1, Once Upon a Time in Germany, not quite the word Germany, occupied France. But isn't that cute to turn a tragedy in which people's relatives are still victims of it, to turn that into a fairy tale, like Once Upon a Time? And leading up to this first monologue, the milk farmer monologue, I gotta say it's striking that the music is very Western. So I don't recall whether this Western style music continues throughout the entire movie, but that's a silly little idea to portray World War II with like as a Western. I gotta say, like, if you were only Quentin Tarantino would have been allowed to make this movie. If you were to pitch this idea to anyone in Hollywood, they'd be like, "Are you kidding me?" I wonder how well this movie did in Germany. Anyways, the Germans are arriving, and the milk farmer's stressed. And up comes whatever Landa. His name is Landa, the evil German villain of the movie. They shake hands, and Landa, whatever his name is, says, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Le Petit," and it's all in French. And he goes, "I am Colonel Hans Landa of the SS." And he goes, "What can I do for you? Um, I'd like to go inside your house so we can have a discussion." And he meets his family, his wife and daughters, I guess. And he goes, "Oh, the rumors are all true about your family. Every daughter is more lovely than the next." I'm skipping some, whatever. He kisses one of their hands. I think he's got 3 daughters. I don't know if there is a wife. Doesn't matter. Who cares? And then he's like, asks one of his daughters, "Suzette, can you go get..." Sorry about that. "Can you go get the Colonel some wine?" And he's like, and the Colonel stops him and goes, "No, I don't want wine. I'd rather have some milk." I gotta wonder, like, you got 3 daughters, and you're gonna try to rescue, like, house a bunch of people that are being targeted by the government to be killed. I mean, that's a bit risky to the lives of your daughters, isn't it? So Colonel Landa drinks the whole glass of milk in like 10 seconds, showing that I guess this is not at all a casual occasion, and the asking for a glass of milk was just a formality or a gesture. It was just a gesture of politeness. But now that the gesture of politeness is over, or hopefully soon, he'll get to the point. So Landa thanks him for the great milk, and Landa goes, "Please join me at your table," because he's already sitting down. And that's kind of funny because, anybody who's ever dealt with bikers, and I haven't, but I've heard stories, or the mafia, knows that that's what they do. They'll come in your house, they'll open your fridge, they'll start eating your food, they'll sit down while you're standing. So he's already showing his dominance, how he basically owns the place, right? He's inviting him to have a seat at his own table in his own house. So the Colonel, and from now on I'm just going to call him the Colonel, says, maybe we should, before we have our conversation, maybe your daughters could step outside. You notice my men are waiting outside. Okay, great. So it's his idea for the women. I thought it would be the father's idea to have his daughters leave the room, but okay. I guess it's just one more illustration and one more example of the Colonel having complete control of the situation and making all the decisions. And then he goes, "Mr. Le Petit," that's his name, "I regret to inform you that I've exhausted the extent of my French." And this is right where I was about to say, so far this is a fine scene, and I'm thinking it's about to get bad, and this is probably the point where it gets bad. He's exhausted his to the extent of his Quentin has his extent of his ability to do a normal scene without trying to impress. God. Oh God. He says, "To continue to speak French so inadequately would only serve to embarrass me." So that's false humility. What he's really doing is saying, "I'm done being polite. I'm going to speak my tongue. We're going to speak in my tongue now." Oh wait, he goes, "I've been led to believe you speak English very well." Okay, fine, whatever. Whatever, why don't you can speak Chinese for all I care. But of course this is an American movie, so there's got to be reasons, I guess, to speak English. Oh, and Colonel takes his gloves off, so the gloves are off. I gotta point out, though, that there would be why would a Frenchman and a German in 1941 both be fluent in English? I don't think that was the case. This was before America became the world superpower, when everybody learned English, so I don't think it was common. So, Colonel, I'm just gonna paraphrase, because he's like, "I'm very aware of who you are and your family, but I have no way of knowing if you are familiar with who I am." I'll try to do a German accent. "Are you aware of my existence?" "Yes." "This is good." "Now, are you aware of the job I'm actually adding to the accent. "Are you aware of the job I've been ordered to carry out in France?" And he goes, "Yes." "Please tell me, what have you heard?" And he goes, "I've heard that," he doesn't say "I've heard that the Fuhrer put you in charge of rounding up the Jews left in France." So, I mean, I guess this isn't the best exposition when you just have people talking to each other and saying, "So what's the story?" Kind of reminds me of like 80s sitcoms where the episode would start with like, Michael Keaton on the phone being like, and he's just talking on the phone, and he's just delivering exposition about what the whole situation of this episode's going to be about, but it's on the phone to somebody, right? Oh yeah, so my mom's, she's going on a trip to Paris, and my dad, he's going to, to go see a movie today. Anyways, I'll see you later. And there's a couple lines of dialogue that are there's no need for them. And he goes, but your visit, pleasant though it is mysterious to me. That's what the French guy says. The Germans looked through my house 9 months ago to find Jews, and they found nothing. And Hans takes out a file folder. So we're 8 minutes into this movie, and really nothing's happened. Just a lot of casual conversation so far. But that's supposed to build the suspense for you. And the colonel's just like, well, there's new management, and there has to be a slight duplication of efforts, and blah 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 blah. Just a lot of bullshit, here and back and forth, And he goes, I just have a few questions, Monsieur Lapadite. I'm hoping it's only a few, because we're 8 minutes into this movie, so let's get to it, okay? And if you can assist me with the answers, my department can close the file on your family. Okay, fine. So this is like his first major movie, I think, since after Kill Bill. So I still had hope sitting there as a 32-year-old in 2009, and I was still sitting there probably thinking this could be good. Yeah, so far so good. Fine. Before the occupation, there were four Jewish families in this area, all dairy farmers like yourself. Dillerax, Rollins, the Lovitts, and the Dreyfuses. I didn't know any of those names were Jewish names. Maybe you didn't know this, but apparently I was told by a German friend of mine that Jewish people were forced to have their names changed to German names. So either you had to pick a name, or it would be picked for you. So that's why a lot of them chose names like Steingold, because that's like gold, or Goldstein, Steen, because that's stone, right? Goldstone. And French dude goes, yeah, I knew about that. And I'm just paraphrasing. And he goes, is it okay if I smoke my pipe? I'm surprised he's asking about that. Why would you want to smoke a pipe when you know you're about to get busted? This is worse than the police coming to your house and and you've got like 5 tons of crack, cocaine, and you're going to ask if you can smoke a pipe. And Colonel goes, please, this is your house, make yourself comfortable. And it's like so funny, because it's like, it's not your house, buddy. Like, I'm in here, I've got all the control. This is not your house. You do need to ask my permission. And he goes, according to these papers, all the families have been accounted for except for the Dreyfuses. And so he says, either they've made an escape or someone's hiding them. But with a lot more words than I used. He goes, what have you heard about this? And Dreyfus, Le Petit goes, I've only heard rumors. And Colonel goes, I love rumors. He raises his voice. So this would be the first sign that Colonel Londa isn't just some guy that's doing his job. He actually loves doing his job. And he goes, facts can be misleading, where rumors, true or false, are often revealing. I don't think that's quite true. I mean, a fact by definition almost is not misleading. Rumors are often revealing. I mean, I guess they can be, but generally the opposite is true. Facts are revealing, whereas rumors are often misleading. So he just said the complete opposite of whatever. And so what rumors have you heard? And he goes, we heard that the Dreyfuses made their way into Spain. Maybe the reason he asked if he could smoke a pipe was because it would be like me asking for a last cigarette, because I know about the shit's about to hit the fan. And then he goes, would you confirm for me the exact name of the household, the names of all the family? So then the movie spends a minute of him listing the names of all the 5 members of the family. A whole minute, right? We're at 11 minutes into the movie. And then he asks for the ages of the children. Maybe this will take 2 minutes. And you know what? Come to think of it, in real life, the Germans would just come in and search the house. They wouldn't even bother with this conversation. So this is just the Colonel having fun, I guess. And no shit, it actually is going to take 2 minutes for him to name the ages of all of them. But then the camera pans down to the basement, revealing the 5 Dreyfuses with their mouths covered, terrified. And this is supposed to be a very suspenseful reveal. Uh, I don't know what I already knew. Now that because I've seen the movie already on second viewing. I mean, I don't know what to think. Like, it's not suspenseful. That's for damn sure. Secondly, though, I didn't find it suspenseful the first time I saw it. And the Colonel goes, "Well, that should do it. However, before I go, could I have another glass of your delicious milk?" And if he wants to keep up this facade, why doesn't he offer to pay for the milk? You don't just come into someone's house and, on the guise of being polite, and like ask them for wine and like. I mean, he's a milk farmer. He should be charging for this, right? How much do you think 2 glasses of milk would go for in today's standards if our milk was as rare and hard to get as it would have been in 1941? Okay, now he goes, "Are you aware of the nickname the people of France have given me?" And this is where he's just about to reveal. This is the big reveal that he's actually an asshole. And, he might as well have raided the house in the first place. In other words, Quentin Tarantino is about to reveal to us that he's been wasting our time for the last 12 and a half minutes. The French dude says, "I have no interest in such things." And he goes, "But you are aware of what they call me." So this is just like saying, what a badass I am. Have you heard how famous I am for being a tough guy and a badass? That's what he's basically saying. And then, of course, just like, what's his name? Heisenberg saying, "Say my name." The French guy goes, "Yeah, I'm aware of what they call you." But then he goes, "What are you aware of?" So he's basically like, say it, say my name. And he goes, "They call you the Jew hunter." And he goes, "Precisely. To nitpick, I don't think precisely is the correct response to that. Precisely. I'll give some leeway, though, because Germans are often lost in translation. Like my friend's dad, when they had a mouse, there was a mouse, he goes, "We have a mouse in the house. We have to murder it," which was hilarious. So I guess a German would say precisely rather than, just, "Yeah, that's right." And then Colonel goes, a lot of people hate their titles. There's a guy named the Hangman. He hates being called the Hangman. But I, on the other hand, I love my unofficial title. Precisely because I have earned it. Precisely because I've earned it. If I was the French guy, I'd just stand up and start clapping. Good for you. You love the title. Good for you for telling me all about yourself. I didn't ask one goddamn question about you, but you're telling me what you like and what your title is. And, I don't care. Get on with it. Raid my house. Oh, and he says the thing that makes him so good at being a Jew hunter is that he can think like a Jew. That's a little bit, the R word, RACIST. I mean, forgive me for thinking this. That sounds a bit prejudiced. You gotta wonder what, Steven Spielberg and all the Jewish film directors think about this movie. They must hate it. They must hate Quentin Tarantino for making this movie. And German people must hate this movie, too. And he's giggling about how he actually is giggling about, what he's saying. He thinks it's so cute and evil how he could think like a Jew as opposed to other German soldiers. It's just so drawn out. We're at 13 and a half minutes. Nothing's happened. But just like the shot of adrenaline into the heart in Pulp Fiction, we're supposed to be on pins and needles waiting for when the moment's gonna come. And I'm just thinking okay, let's get on with it. I remember when I was in the theater watching this, I was like, okay, get on with it. And then he says, if you were to think what the attribute of a German would be, it would be the cunning and the predatory instinct of a hawk. I shortened it for sake of brevity. Okay, great. And then he says that Jewish people, if they were a beast, they would be a rat. Now, I'm starting to think this colonel is not a very nice guy. And he says, the Fuhrer and the Germans, they pretty much think the same thing. But where I differ is I don't consider the comparison an insult. You don't think it's an insult to be called a rat? That's a huge insult. It's an insult everywhere. It's what prisoners use even today in jail. There is never a compliment to be compared to a rat. Tell me any nationality where it's cool to be a rat. There he goes, consider for a moment the world a rat lives in. You know, my sister had a pet rat, and rats are actually pretty intelligent, and they're far more hygienic than mice. I don't. Actually, I kind of agree with them. You know, a rat isn't so bad. They get a bad. It's not Jews that get a bad rap. Well, although they do, of course. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the point that he should be making is that rats. What's wrong with a rat? And then he goes, if a rat were to wander into your house right now, would you treat it with hostility? And he goes, I suppose I would. That's actually pretty clever. Good job, Quentin. And then he goes, has a rat ever done anything to make you have this animosity towards them? And he goes, rats spread disease. They bite people. And he goes, rats were the cause of the bubonic plague, but that was some time ago. I didn't know that. And then he goes, any disease a rat could spread, a squirrel could equally carry. Would you agree? And that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, why is everybody beating up on rats? Raccoons have rabies. You don't call somebody a raccoon as an insult. Although I once did. I was living with a girl who would lose her temper and would just start tearing up books on my bookshelf. And I was like, it's like living with a raccoon. And then he goes, yet I'm sure you don't share the same animosity with rats as you do squirrels. And I'd say, actually, I kind of do. See, interesting point here. You notice how I just mentioned how I once, she was a girlfriend. When she got mad, she would tear up my books, and I said she was like a raccoon. I didn't need to insert that into this video of mine. But in the same way, Tarantino didn't need to insert this whole conversation about rats into this movie. It's irrelevant, and it's digressing. And then he goes like, you know, squirrels look like rats aside from the tail, don't they? And he goes, it's an interesting thought, Herr Colonel. So are we getting even deeper into this comparison? So like, what's a squirrel then? If a Jew is a rat, then what is a squirrel? A Frenchman? I'm like, so now we're talking about squirrels? Now are you going to talk about acorns? And squirrels are even worse than rats because they have acorns, and acorns are like their treasure, and they hoard it all to themselves. And that's very greedy, like the Frenchman. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Oh my god, okay, he just keeps going. We're 15 minutes into the movie. If a rat were to wander in here, would you greet it with a saucer of your delicious milk? And he's basically like, you know, you don't like them, you don't know why you don't like them, all you know is you find them repulsive. But, however, he does know why he doesn't like rats if they were spreading diseases and biting people. I know I don't like cockroaches, and I can tell you exactly why I don't like them. Because they, you know, they're gross looking, and they got like 8 legs, or however many legs, and they look like aliens, and they move around and shit, and they squish when you step on them. So he goes, consequently, I don't know if consequently is the right word. A German, you know, has to look into a house suspected of hiding Jews, and like a hawk, he looks in the barn, he looks in the attic, he looks in the cellar. You know, and if I was the French guy, I'd go, then why has the hawk been talking for 15 minutes when he could have looked in the cellar already? And he goes, but there are so many places it would never occur to a hawk to hide. But I think he just said the hawk does look in the cellar. Holy shit, and he just keeps talking, and then he's like, may I smoke my pipe as well? May I smoke my pipe as well while I concoct another metaphor? Do you know the story of the boy who cried wolf? Well, or Little Red Riding Hood? Little Red Riding Hood is like a Jew, and I am the wolf that gets the Jew. I wonder if he's going to ask for another glass of milk. See, I guess, like, Quentin Tarantino is this Colonel Londa, and he's trying to make us feel uncomfortable. But it's just not working, at least not, it wasn't working for me, because I wasn't feeling uncomfortable. I was just like, okay, get on with it. This is, like, if they just wanted to show that he loves being a Jew hunter, you know, you could say it, you could do this, cut this down to, like, 4 minutes. It doesn't have to be 16 minutes and counting. And then he goes, my job dictates that I must enter your home, have my officers enter your home and do a thorough search before I can officially cross your family's name off my list. So he could have just entered and said that right from the beginning, without any of this. So, in the last 17 minutes now, The only aside, like, okay, he's just been pouring milk and smoking pipes, and then at one point just saying, making a metaphor about comparing people to rats and other people to hawks, and I felt no tension the first time I watched this. Right? I didn't even know what this movie was yet. Right? I entered with an open mind. So there's no suspense. Like, get on with it. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I can see it coming. I know it's gonna happen. And, like, I don't know. Like, what? You know, it just reminds me of the whole Potbelly monologue in Pulp Fiction, where it's just like, why is this here? You're just wasting time. And so he's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to search your house unless you have something to tell me that makes the conducting of a search unnecessary. And he basically says, to paraphrase, that you'll be rewarded if you tell me rather than if we have to search. No, and he says, and the reward will be that your family will not be bothered by the German military during the rest of our occupation of your country. And then he goes, you're sheltering enemies of the state, are you not? And he goes, yes. He goes, you're sheltering them under the floorboards, right? You know, Colonel Landa is wasting a lot of time. Like, if I was going to hire him to, like, clean my bathroom, and he's in there, or, you know, fix my toilet, he's a janitor, and instead he's, like, talking about how, you know, plumbing is like oceans, because the oceans have salt, but the water in the toilet doesn't. But salt is what makes, you know, like, he's just going on about shit, and it's like, okay, when are you going to fix the toilet? He could have finished all of this by now and be moving on to the next, Jew hunter, right? He could be hunting his next Jew, right? He's not very efficient. And he goes, point out to the areas where they're hiding, and the guy with a tear in his eye points. And aside from Americans, Europeans, how must they have reacted to this movie? Especially French people. Not especially, but French people included. Germans, French people, Jewish people, watching this movie, like, who would want to relive this? Well, Quentin Tarantino wants to relive it. He loves it. Oh my God, he still won't get onto it. He goes, since they have been listening, I assume they do not speak English. And he goes, yes. Okay, great. Actually, I chat GPT'd how many people in France spoke English in 1941. The population was about 40 million. Estimated English speakers, less than 5%, and probably 1 to 3%. And it was usually aristocrats. This guy's a milk farmer. How the hell does he speak English? So this is the one and only milk farmer in France that speaks English. And then he goes, I'm going to switch back to French now, and I want you to follow my masquerade. Is that clear? So now he wants the French guy to join him in this waste of time. See, Landa, now we're supposed to assume that Landa was speaking in English in order for the Jewish people underneath the floorboards, because he knows everything, because he's just as smart as Quentin Tarantino. That he knew that the Jewish people underneath didn't speak English. But how would he know that? He didn't know that. He just admitted he doesn't know that. So that whole conversation, for all he knew, could have been understood by the people under the floorboards. So my one question to Quentin and Colonel Landa is, what was the point of this masquerade in the first place? And then he says in French, thanks for the milk, my work is done, off I go now, essentially. And there's very tense rising music, so we're really supposed to feel suspense, a sense of suspense. So then he's like saying, hello to his daughters outside, while the German soldiers come inside. And he's just speaking polite French. And all the German soldiers come inside, and they start shooting the floorboards. They start shooting through the floorboards with their guns, which is ridiculous. That would never happen. They would open up the floorboards. They'd be like, how do we get in? Why waste all these bullets on floorboards, and you don't even know exactly where you're hitting? And didn't you say that we were going to be, nice to you, have a reward? You just shot up all my floorboards. How am I going to replace those floorboards? Like, you screwed up my whole floor. And one little girl escapes, and Christoph Waltz yells at her as she runs away because his bullet didn't click. He goes, "Au revoir, Shoshana." So I pointed out a lot of things in this scene that don't make any sense, aside from that they make Quentin feel like a tough guy. The fact that they ended up trashing his house, the guy's house, the Frenchman's house anyways, takes away from the whole idea that he was trying to be as civil as possible about doing his business. Also the fact that he said he loves being a Jew hunter. I just can't think of what justifies all that conversation about milk and smoking a pipe. And the rat hawk speech comparing humans to rats and animals. The whole point of the scene was for him to emotionally, mentally torture the milk farmer. If that's his whole motive, why didn't he just leave and then come back the next day and torture him again for an hour with more milk? So can I have another glass of milk? He could just do that for the whole year. He clearly doesn't want to be efficient with his Jew hunting, so he didn't need to do all that milk drinking and pipe smoking and bullshit talk. So the only way of making sense of what this was all about would be it was about the fact that Colonel Landa hates French people, really. And I mean, even if that's the goal, that wasn't achieved either, because I think the French guy was pretty bored with the conversation. I'm sure he was worried, but at the same time, all this talk about rats and milk and pipes. But my main conclusion remains what it was when I first saw it in the movie theater in 2009. It was not suspenseful. I remember sitting there in the theater thinking, oh my god, Tarantino thinks he's making me feel suspense, but it's not working. This is like, the scene in Pulp Fiction where he's got to put the adrenaline into the Uma Thurman heart. This would be like that scene if Vincent Vega was holding the needle, preparing to do the injection, but he just stood like with his head in the air for like 20 minutes of the movie, like just like not having the nerve to do it, and it just went on for 20 minutes. Okay, so thank you, Quentin Tarantino, for those 20 minutes of boring hell. If hell is boring, then that was hell. I should have left the theater then, because little did I know he had a lot more boring hell to give. I'm not sure this next scene, the Bear Jew, is quite as boring, specifically. I wouldn't describe it as boring as much as I'd describe it as ridiculous. Embarrassing. The real victim, I think, is Eli Roth, because Quentin makes him look like an idiot in this scene. Now, I've only seen the Bear Jew scene once. So first I'll give you my recollection of it. Okay, so they're like, they got some Germans that they're gonna like kill, right? And then they're like, you know who's coming? And the Germans are like, oh no, yeah, have you heard of the Bear Jew? Oh my gosh, and the Germans are terrified. We've heard of the Bear Jew. Oh no, not the Bear Jew. The Bear Jew, like a grizzly bear. The Bear Jew. Oh no, oh. And they're just so scared, they're pissing their pants. And then you hear, like, I think whistling, and then you can hear the Bear Jew coming, and he's coming through like a tunnel, and he's walking slow, and you see his shadow, and you think it's gonna be like this terrifying like bear. And then tiny little Eli Roth shows up, and it was just like I almost cracked up. Maybe I did crack up laughing in the theater at how anticlimactic that was. It's like saying it's a huge, evil, enormous dragon is coming, and then what ends up coming is a tiny little mouse, and you're like, oh, so yeah, the mouse casts a big shadow. It's like almost like a Looney Tunes thing, and it ends up being this little thing. Then again, I'm really scared because it's not easy getting into like having to rewatch things that you absolutely hated. But I will repeat, if this video can help one child out there to not watch this movie, then it was all worthwhile. So I'm skimming through this movie to get to the Bear Jew part, and I noticed though, like immediately, Brad Pitt, I didn't remember this, but they're Jewish Americans. Brad Pitt and his bunch, the Inglourious Basterds. I don't know why I forgot that or why it's not obvious, but okay, they're Americans. So this is where Americans are kicking ass. So now this whole movie makes a lot more sense in terms of like why he made this movie, because it's just like, oh yeah, if there were 8 Americans during World War II, they just would have kicked the crap out of the Germans. Just 8 of them could have done it. Okay, so this famous bear juice scene, famous to me anyways, for all the wrong reasons, starts with them being like, do you know who Hugo Stiglitz is? And the German's like, everybody knows who Hugo Stiglitz is. And then you get this introduction of this guy, Hugo. He's a member of the Inglourious Basterds. Who's like just a legend in terms of how brutal he is at killing Germans. So we'll start the monologue at this moment, 29 minutes in. Brad Pitt goes to the German, I guess, prisoner. Can I assume you know who we are? And the soldier goes, you're Aldo the Apache. And they all go, woo! All the Inglourious Basterds. And they're laughing because they love how inglorious they are. And Brad Pitt goes, if you heard of us, then you probably heard we ain't in the prisoner taking business. We in the killing N-word business. It's funny I gotta say N-word when it's really, I'm not using the N-word. It's more like German, you know, or World War II killing business. How am I supposed to get through this monologue without using that N-word? Anyways, we in the killing N-word business. And cousin, business is a boomin'. You know what? It might as well be the N-word, because it's just an excuse for Quentin Tarantino to have like all these murdering. Yeah, business is a boomin', and then all the Inglourious Basterds are like, yeah. Now that leaves 2 ways we can play this out. Either kill you or let you go. And already I'm like, okay, Quentin, what's the point? We know you're not gonna let him go. Oh wait, we're supposed to feel a sense of suspense here, right? Because it's just so... I don't know what the hell. Why would anybody feel suspense? Are they afraid that they're gonna kill him? I mean, like the audience. Does the audience really care? Whether or not you're gonna leave this ditch alive depends entirely on you. So I'm not gonna repeat the whole thing, but Brad Pitt's just going on and on and on about, you know, there's an orchard out there, and you know, we don't want a sniper thing, blah blah blah. We want this, we want that, and you can give. I guess he's asking him for information. Now, if you ever want to eat a sauerkraut sandwich again, then you gotta show me on this here map where they are. Oh God, I thought he was done. But no, you gotta tell me how many there are, and you gotta tell me what kind of artillery they got with them. By the way, because we're supposed to be in suspense, we're supposed to be interested in this stupid conversation. That, like, it's just so boring. German says, you can't expect me to divulge information that would put German lives in danger. And Brad Pitt goes, well now, Werner, that's exactly where you're wrong, because that's exactly what I expect. I need to know about Germans hiding in trees. And you need to tell me. And you need to tell me right now. Now just take that finger of yours and point out on this here map where the party is being held. You think you really need to explain to him how to point at something? So oh really? So in order to point at something I have to take my finger, and that's how I point. Okay. You know, and tell me, you know, where these people are, how many is coming, and what they brought to play with. Dude, you already said that. You said that a minute ago. You're just repeating yourself. Don't you know that a bully shouldn't have to repeat themselves? But by all means, Quentin, make it even longer. Make the scene as long as possible, because I guess we're in such suspense, so dragging it out really is effective, isn't it? Okay, and German guy goes, I respectfully refuse, sir. And then all of a sudden you hear, okay, uh-oh. And Brad Pitt points behind him and goes, you hear that? And the gets louder, starts getting louder. And the German goes, yes. Oh my God, the suspense is killing me. And then he goes, That's Sergeant Donnie Donowitz. You might know him by his nickname, the Bear Jew. Now, if you heard of Aldo the Apache, you got to have heard about the Bear Jew. And the German goes, I've heard of the Bear Jew. I'm doing a better German accent, and I'm not even like an actor. I heard of the Bear Jew. That's how he should have said it. He sounds like he's not a German. And Aldo goes, what'd you hear? I mean, I didn't realize this, but on second viewing of these monologues, there's a lot of like, have you heard of me going on in this movie. This movie so far, I mean, I've skipped, to this point, but it's like, have you heard of me? Yes, I've heard of you. What have you heard? I've heard a lot of things. I want you to tell me what you've heard about me. What do they call me? I know what they call you. Tell me what they call me. So the German says, beats soldiers with a club. And Brad Pitt corrects him. He bashes the brains in with a baseball bat. That's what he... So, he bashes the brains in with a baseball bat, what he does. Now, Werner, I'm going to ask you one more time. And if you still respectfully refuse, I'm calling the Bear Jew over. He's going to take that big bat of his, and he's going to beat your ass to death with it. He's going to whip out his big dick, and he's going to beat you to death with it. It'd be better if that was what the dialogue was, but okay. Now take your wiener schnitzel licking mouth, finger, whatever the fuck, and point out on this map what I want to know. Again, you already said how to point. Like, yeah, you use your finger to point. I get it, man. Quentin, just because you got suspense doesn't mean you can drag the scene on for 5 hours. And the German stares him down and goes, fuck you and your Jew dogs. And in case you didn't know, one of the most offensive terms in German is Schweinhund. It means pig dog. What's interesting, an interesting aside, is that I find it interesting. The worst swear words in Germany are animals, to call someone any type of animal, from a pig to a dog. The worst insults in Italy are God, related to God, like Jesus Christ, God damn it. I think this is the case, or was the case. The worst insults in the States, America, are usually sexual insults. You effing see you next Tuesday. Or even the F word itself is like a sexual term. That's why it's so offensive. But in Germany, you call somebody a pig or a dog, that's the worst. And then after he says fuck you, they all laugh, and he goes, we're all tickled pink that you said that. Quite frankly, watching Donnie beat Nazis to death, oops, I said the N-word, is the closest we ever get to going to the movies. So these guys, they watch movies to see people beat each other to death, I guess. Because sometimes I watch movies I like horror movies, I also watch sci-fi movies. But these guys, they just like watching people get beat to death. That's their idea of a good movie. And Brad Pitt goes, Donnie? And then you see from a tunnel, a dark tunnel, and you hear, yeah. And he goes, we got us a German here who wants to die for country. So it's all just like, oh my gosh, we don't even know, we haven't even seen this guy yet. And he's at the end of a tunnel. Oblige him. So then for a minute, you just see the tunnel and you hear, and it's getting louder. And you see the Germans, and the German soldiers are just looking so terrified. And this suspenseful music starts. It's like, oh my god, this is like, what the hell's gonna come out of this tunnel? This bear Jew, like, this is gonna be a force to be reckoned. This is like a nightmare for these guys. The legend of the Bear Jew. And finally, little Eli Roth comes out with a baseball bat. And I'm just gonna end this monologue there, just because that was just the height of letdown for me when I first saw it in the theater, and I never forgot it. It was just this tiny little guy comes out. And needless to say, he doesn't do anything spectacular. He just beats the guy to death with a baseball bat. That's it. Okay, so we're coming up to the last monologue that I'm going to analyze, or whatever, react to. But I want to note that if you cut those previous two monologues, or dialogues, whatever the fuck, if you cut them out of the movie, you might have a better movie. But then again, if you cut them out, then you might be criticizing the other parts, which maybe they're even worse. I don't know. This movie is just such a mess. But I'll tell you one thing. Doing a reaction video just to these three monologues makes me ever more certain that I never want to watch this movie again. Okay, I guess I never noted this. Maybe I did, but I picked these three scenes because they're supposed to be suspenseful. They're all trying to recreate the suspense from the adrenaline shot in Pulp Fiction to the heart. Adrenaline shot to the heart. That's what these scenes are trying to be, and they're all failing. Okay, so the scenario is, if I'm not mistaken, Michael Fassbender is a British guy that's posing. They're all posing as, like, you know, pro-German people, and they're in a German bar, and they gradually get discovered, and it ends in a shootout. So much like the first monologue with Christoph Waltz, we're supposed to be feeling really suspenseful, like when are they going to pull out their guns? And that happens over, like, the course, way too long. And the scene starts with them wearing cards on their foreheads. I don't know who it is. So the German's got a card on his forehead, and he's like, okay, let's see. So I'm a male, I'm an American. Oh wait, that's controversial. It's a game where you're supposed to guess who you are because you got a thing on your forehead, a card that says you're, like, a famous character in history on your forehead, and you got to ask a bunch of questions about who you are, right? And the chick who's on the Inglourious Basterds side goes, that's not controversial at all. The nationality of the author has nothing to do with the nationality of the character. They're all speaking in German, by the way. She goes, the character is the character. Hamlet is not English or whatever. He's Danish. I mean, educationally, I didn't know Hamlet was from Danish, so that's good to know. So yes, this character was born in America, and then they clap and they toast. Now, I want to note that it would be more fun to actually play this game with your friends than to watch people play the game in a movie. So what are you doing, Quentin? Why are you putting us through this? Like, I mean, first you show us how a person drinks a glass of milk. Then you show us how to point. You got to take out your finger to point. Now you're showing us what it's like to play a stupid game, like a parlor game, a drinking game. And then the German goes to the waitress, Matilda, Schnaps, and he points to everybody, Schnaps, 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 5 Schnaps. Or in German it's fear. No, wait, the German word for 4 is fear. I don't know what 5 is. And then he goes, if I had a wife, would she be a squaw? And everybody goes, ah! They go, yes. And I'm honestly wondering how long until, like, we get to something. And I don't know what a squaw is. SQWAW. I have no I have no clue what that is. And then he goes, is my blood brother old Shatterhand? I don't know what the hell this is. And he goes, did Karl May write me? And then he goes, I am Winnetou, chief of the Apaches. I've never heard of this person. So we just spent a minute watching people play a game that we could just be playing ourselves at home. It's not like movie material. Unless, of course, you're Quentin Tarantino, who thinks that everybody's just mouth open agape at the suspense that's coming, and that's having this small talk bullshit nonsense, having that be, appropriate because you're building suspense, so you can just talk about anything and have them playing tic-tac-toe for like 5 minutes. I'm tempted to check how long this scene is really going to be, because I did not expect that first scene with Christoph Waltz to last 20 minutes. I can't believe. So this is probably going to last 3 times longer than I think. Okay, so they all laugh and they cheer and they drink, and that's what happens for the next 30 seconds. Okay, and then finally, Michael Fassbender arrives, and the guys that were playing at the table, they all quickly stand up and salute, because I guess obviously he's a higher ranking German, or pretending to be one, right? Okay, so I guess it's 3 of the Inglourious Basterds with the Michael Fassbender, and they're all dressed up as, like, Germans. And the woman, I don't know what her name, I don't know, who cares? She was on their side. She goes, oh, hello, my lovelies. I will join you in a moments. I'm just saying goodbye to my 5 new friends here. And this is all in German. Michael Fassbender goes, no rush. Hammersmith, that's her name. Take your time, enjoy yourself. We'll just be over here waiting. And by the way, though I can't recall what the circumstances are for this scene, I don't think it matters, because I didn't understand. This movie doesn't make any sense anyways. Like, it's all nonsense. And then the Inglourious Bastard woman, blonde lady, goes, those are my friends. She says to the barkeep, please treat them to anything they like. I feel bad that this video is so long, this video of mine. However, a young child would get more from this video of mine than they could ever get from this movie. And it's going to be shorter than this movie. And yes, my video is a shitty video, but that just tells you how shitty this movie is, though, if my video is better than the movie. Bartender goes, Frau von Hammerschmark, your wish is my command. Well, that was great. Thanks for wasting another 10 seconds in this fucking movie. Oh my god. So the bartender goes over to them, Michael, the Inglourious Basterds, and goes, gentlemen, whatever. It would appear the drinks are on the Fraulein. That's German for madam or Mrs. Woman. Whiskey, 1 whiskey. Whiskey, 2 whiskeys. Whiskey, 3 whiskeys. Why didn't they just figure out what they were ordering? Like, what the fuck is this? And so she finishes the game and goes, I wish you all a wonderful evening. Thank you. And they go, wait, you forgot your card. Because she still got a card on her hat. Isn't that funny? Whatever. And she's like, I might as well look at my card. And she looks at it and she goes, Genghis Khan? I never would have guessed that. And they go, but of course you would have. So then she greets the Inglourious Basterds with a kiss and goes, oh, hi, how are you? I would say, as a perfectionist wannabe writer that I am, you should never have, hi, how are you? I'm fine, not bad, thanks. That should never be anywhere in any movie or any book. What's new? Not much. You don't want to have small talk ever in a movie or a book. So we spend 30 seconds. She goes, so good to see you. Just kissing everybody, all 3 of them on each cheek, so good to see you. For 30 seconds on this. Michael Fassbender goes, I thought this place was supposed to have more French than Germans. And she says, yeah, normally that's true. The sergeant over there's wife just had a baby. Okay, great. So I guess that excuses the 2 minutes I just wasted, the audience just wasted watching them play a stupid game. And his commanding officer gave him and his mates the night off to celebrate. Okay, well, that's great to know also, thanks. Why don't you tell me more about, who gives a shit? And another guy goes, we should leave. And she goes, no, we should stay for 1 drink. And you know what? Anybody who's seen this movie, I bet you are an equal, you also don't know what the hell's going on in this scene, because this scene it has no purpose. And she goes, it would be strange if we left before we had a drink. Yeah, honey, you didn't need to explain that. I understand the concept of, it looks incriminating if you just come and go really quickly. And Michael Fassbender says in German, she's right. Just be calm and enjoy your whiskey. So they've just spent a minute talking about why they should stay and have a drink. So then the drunk Germans ask the bartender to join the game, and she joins the game. And there's just some bullshit talk about the owner saying, if these guys get out of line, let me know. And she goes, one of the girls at the table goes, if any of these wolves get out of line, I'll kick their ass in. I'm just gonna repeat what this shit is. This effing shit. She goes, watch. And she grabs one of them and pulls his nose. And it's just like... And he's upset, he's embarrassed. And they go, schnapps, schnapps, schnapps. Let's have more schnapps. Before we go on playing, we will drink. Aren't you drinking already? We drink to our friend Wilhelm. And his little boy, Maximilian. To Max, everybody. Okay, there's some new development. She's saying, quiet. Sorry, shit. I'm trying to get through this bloody ordeal as soon as possible. But meanwhile, at the Inglourious Basterds table, she's whispering to them information. Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna read out, like, play it out. They're drinking. A bunch of drunk Germans and some Jewish people in disguise. Okay, there's some new development, she says. The cinema venue has changed. Why? No one knows, but that should not be a real problem. The cinema, it's been changed to it's considerably smaller than the Ritz. So whatever explosives you brought for the Ritz should be doubly effective here. Okay, so that's the information. Now the next piece of information is colossal. Try not to overreact. The Führer. Oh, and then drunk German guy comes up and he goes, I was just thinking, could you sign an autograph to my son on my birthday? I guess she's a famous person. Of course, I'd love to, Wilhelm. This handsome staff sergeant has just became a father today. Congratulations, they go to him. Thank you. Do you know the name of the progeny yet? I most certainly do, Fraulein. His name is Maximilian. I guess that would be Junior. Wonderful name. Okay, great. Danke, Lieutenant. Nothing but the best for little Maximilian. Danke, danke. Okay, great. Okay, that's great. Nothing's happening. Max may not know who you are now, but he will. I will show him all of your movies. Oh, so she's a famous actress. He will grow up with your films and... He's drunk. This napkin on his wall, because she just signed a napkin. I propose a toast to the greatest actress in Germany. Okay, great. There is no Dietrich. There is no Riefenstahl. Only von Hammersmark, because that's her name. Cheers. Prost. Cheers. Great. Fucking really. Alright, so then she starts talking again, because he's quieting up again. So she's talking in secret to them. Once again. But this guy won't leave. He's fucking hammered, and he sits down at their table. What brings you to France? None of your business, says Michael Fassbender, staff sergeant, giving a dressing down. You might not have worn out your welcome with the Fraulein with your drunken, boorish behavior, but you have worn out your welcome with me, or something. Might I remind you, staff sergeant, you are an enlisted man. This is an officer's table. I suggest you stop pestering the Fraulein, and rejoin your table. Okay, great. Still a whole lot of nothing. Excuse me, Captain, but your accent is very unusual. Oh, so they're figuring out... I know, this whole scene's about figuring out that Michael Fassbender isn't really a German. Where are you from, he says. And then the other Inglourious Basterds, you must be either completely drunk or mad to speak to the superior officer with such, whatever, staff sergeant. I'm making you and you responsible for him. I suggest you take, or he'll spend Max's first birthday in jail on public drunkenness. Might I inquire, says another person. That's great. So much fun. The tension's just killing me. So then a new person shows up. Might I inquire? And then it turns a record player on. Because of course you got to do something like that. Just to build the tension. I think they called it a phonograph. Like our young, newly christened something, I too have an acute ear for accents. Oh. And like him, I too find yours odd. He's talking to Michael Fassbender. And where do you hail from, Major? It wasn't speaking to you, Lieutenant Munich. blah blah blah. Or you either, Lieutenant Frankfurt. I was speaking to Captain I don't know what. Oh, God damn, this sucks. This movie sucked. I was born in a village that rests in the shadows of the Piz Palu. The mountain? Yes. In that village we all speak like this. Have you seen the Riefenstahl film? Yes. Then you saw me. You remember the skiing torch scene? Yes. In that scene was myself, my father, my sister, and my 2 brothers. Are you as bored as I am? My brother is so handsome. The director Pabst gave him a close-up. Herr Major, if my word means anything, I can vouch for everything the young captain has just said. He does hail from the bottom of the Piz Palu. He was in the film and his brother is far more handsome than he is. And they all start laughing. So this is exactly the same as the first scene of the movie. Exactly the same, in fact, because this German is suspecting that they're not who they say they are, so he's suspecting them of something, and now the rest of the scene is all tension. Or shall I say, Quentin Tarantino wants it to be all tension, but it's just boring. Okay, let's keep going. So, back where we were. You should rejoin your friends, he says to the drunken Germans. And he's gonna join them. May I join you? Haha. By all means. Wunderbar. Wonderful. And he pats one of the Inglourious Basterds on the shoulder. So that's the source of your bizarre accent. That's extraordinary. What are you doing here? Aside from having a drink with the lovely Fraulein? Well, that pleasure requires no explanation. I mean in country. You're obviously not stationed in France, or I'd know who you are. You know every German in France? Worth knowing. Well, there lies the problem. We never claimed to be worth knowing. And all levity aside, blah blah blah, what are you doing here? Attending Minister Goebbels' film premiere at the Fraulein's invitation, I suppose. You are Fraulein Hammersmark's escort. Someone has to carry her lighter. He lights the cigarette. They're all laughing. The captain is my date, but these 3 are my guests. We're old friends who go back a long time. Oh, the tension. Actually, longer than an actress would care to admit. They're all. Well, in that case, let me raise my glass to the 3 luckiest men in the room. I wasn't supposed to feel all this tension because we know they're being suspected right now. Oh my God, just go to Germany and hang out with Germans. You don't need to watch this movie. Everybody knows how to drink in a bar. And he goes, I must say, that game they're playing looks like fun. I didn't join them because you're quite right, Captain. An officer should not fraternize with enlisted men. But seeing as we are all officers and sophisticated ladies' friends, what say we play a game? And she goes, yes, great, 1 game. Wunderbar. Wonderful. He goes, soldiers, give me the cards. Takes the cards. It's like, how boring. So now we gotta watch them play the game? So, gentlemen, the object of the game is to write the name of a famous person on your card. Real or fictitious, doesn't matter. For instance, you could write Confucius or blah blah blah. And they must be famous. When you finish writing, put the card face down on the table and move it to one person on your right. To the person on your right. Thanks. The person to your left moves his card. You pick up the card without looking at it, lick the back. This is all in subtitles. And stick it on your forehead. And meanwhile... Oh, apparently the, one of the Inglourious Basterds was once whipped by this very guy. Or something, maybe. I don't know. Who cares? Who cares? Fuck, this is hell. So they look okay. So the evil German has King Kong. One guy has Marco Polo. The other one has Bridget something. G.W. Pabst. Oh my god. We're gonna have to watch them play the game. Am I German? No. Am I American? This is King Kong. Wait a minute. He goes to... Obviously he wasn't born in America. King Kong. So I visited America. Yes. This is so much fun. Almost as fun as playing the game. In real life. My native land. Is it one you would call exotic? Yes. That could either be a reference to the jungle or the Orient. It's rude to call people Oriental. It means not from here. I'm going to let my first instinct take over and ask. Am I from the jungle? Am I real or fictitious? However, I think it's easy, so I won't ask you that. Okay. My native land is the jungle. I visited America. My visit was not fortuitous to me. But the implication is that it was somebody else. When I went from the jungle to America... Look how long this is. Did I go by boat? Yes, yes. Did I go against my will? Yes, yes. On this boat ride, was I in chains? Yes. When I arrived in America, was I displayed in cinema? Am I the story of the Negro in America? No. Well, then I must be King Kong. So he figured it out. So I guess he proved how smart he is. Right? Now, since let's finish your drinks. I don't know what the fuck they're saying. See, again, I thought this scene was going to be like 10 minutes. It's going to be half an hour. So cheers. They're all cheersing to whatever. Now, who is next? And then Michael Fassbender goes, well, I don't mean to be rude, but the four of us are very good friends. And we haven't seen each other in quite a while. So, Major, I am afraid you are intruding. I beg to differ, Captain, says the German. It's only if the Fräulein considers my presence an intrusion that I become an intruder. Well, that's not quite true. How about it, Fräulein? She goes, no, or something. I didn't think so. It's simply the captain is immune to my charms. Okay, cool. And then he starts laughing at Michael Fassbender. And then he gives him a little slap on the cheek. And he goes, I'm just joking. Just joking, of course. I'm intruding. Allow me to refill your glasses, gentlemen, and I will bid you and the Fraulein adieu. Eric has the bottle of 30-year-old whiskey from the Scottish Highlands. What do you say, gentlemen? You're the most gracious, Mayor. You're most gracious, Major. And then he orders it. How many glasses? All this bullshit, eh? Like nothing. I like scotch. Do you like scotch? No, I'll stay with the bubbly. 3 glasses. Oh, that's interesting. So this is where he caught him. So if I remember correctly, it's the way he said 3 glasses, or the way he held his 3 fingers up, that gives away something. And again, the preceding 8 minutes did not need to happen. They could have just went straight to this. I think maybe what it was that Fassbender said tray glasses, whereas as far as I know in German, drei is the name for 3, right? Yeah, the only thing interesting about this scene to me, this scene that should have taken 1 minute, is what revealed him. Was it saying drei the wrong way in German? Okay, I looked it up. What gave him away was actually that in Germany you use your thumb and your 2 fingers to do 3, whereas it's more American and British to use your 3 middle fingers to do to indicate 3 with your hand. So there you go. That's the whole scene was just there in like 30 seconds, and the rest of it was all bullshit. Let's just get through this. Okay, so they all cheers to 1,000-year-old Reich. It's like 1,000-year-old Trump presidency. I must say, I grow wary of these monkey shines. And then he pulls out a gun. Did you hear that? That was the sound of my Waltz pointed right at your testicles. Why do you have your Waltz pointed at my testicles? It's his gun. Because you've just given yourself away, Captain. You're no more German than that Scotch. And then the bartender reaches for a rifle. Ooh, the tension. Ooh. Well, Major, shut up, slut, he says to the girl, the actress. You were saying? I was saying that makes two of us, because he's got a gun pointed at him. Oh my god, two guys? I have a gun pointed at you to help your balls since you sat down. So they've all got guns pointed at each other. Isn't this fun? At this range, I'm a real Frederick Gazoller. So they've all got guns. Looks like we have a bit of a sticky situation here. What's going to happen, Major? Says Michael Fassbender. You're going to stand up and walk out that door with us? No. I don't think so. I'm afraid you and we both know, Captain. No matter what happens to anybody else in this room, the two of us aren't going anywhere. And Michael Fassbender stares at him. Too bad about Sergeant Wilhelm and his famous friends, whatever the hell that is. Whoever the hell. If any of you expect to live, you'll have to shoot them too. Looks like little Max will grow up an orphan. How sad. How boring. How boring. Well, if this is it, old boy, he says in English, I hope you don't mind if I go out speaking to kings. By all means, Captain, says the German in English. There's a special rung in hell reserved for people who waste good scotch. Seeing as I'll be rapping on the door momentarily, I must say, damn good stuff, sir. Okay, now they grab the. Now about this pickle. We find ourselves in. Wow, we're taking our time. It would appear there's only one thing left for you to do. And what would that be? Stiglitz. And then he shoots him in the balls, and they shoot each other in the balls. And then they all start shooting each other, and everybody's shooting each other. Because that's just really... Wow. Who knew? Everybody. Everybody knew this was going to happen. So everybody just shot each other, and everybody's dead. Except for, I think, the Fraulein. Somehow she survived, but who cares? So that was it. That's it. I don't want to watch any more of this shit. Fuck. Bullshit. So that concludes my revisiting of this terrible... The three most terrible things I remember from this most terrible movie. And the only reason I remember them is because they're terrible. The whole movie's terrible. You take these three scenes out, you take out 60 minutes of this movie, and you're left with an hour and a half where you can take out even more, because that sucks too. He flooded this movie so full of bullshit that you can't even figure out you can't even figure out if any of it's good or bullshit anymore. And if you think this is bad, don't worry, there's plenty more where this came from. He went on to continue making movies just as long, drawn out, boring, ending in violence, which somehow excuses all the boring bullshit. And this is a warning to all children. Do not grow up and watch this movie. It will be a complete waste of your time. What have we learned today? What have I learned today is that Quentin Tarantino's movies leave you feeling empty. Because his movies are empty. Because he is empty. This movie, everything that I just described was empty. I'll leave you with a couple pieces of good news, though. because this was all very depressing. Number 1, Quentin Tarantino seems to be retired, so he won't be bugging us anymore, hopefully. Like, please, thank you so much. We're applauding because you're leaving, not because I'm applauding because it's over, not because I enjoyed you. I'm applauding because you're over. And then the second good news is that the comments I've been getting on my Quentin Tarantino videos indicate that his legacy, his not longitude, what's the word? Longevity is not much. Like, his movies are not resonating over time. It's like, I don't think anybody's going back and watching shit like this.